day, viewers, and welcome to another OnSide SA soccer show. Paul is away at a wedding in Fort Lauderdale, and our regular super sub Gavin Radford is on a golfing tour of Dubai. So enjoy it, boys. Joining me shortly will be our regular UK correspondent Stevie Brown from his Fulham studio. But we kick off as always with our PostNet last one standing competition. And heading into week 8, we had 19 entries. Unbelievably, all were successful. 9 squeaked through when Brentford scored late to beat Notts Forest. Brighton cruised, 6 guys on Brighton. 1 on Man City, 1 on Crystal Palace, 1 on Newcastle, and 1 on Liverpool, who I still can't believe scored in injury time against Spurs. The guys that went through, we have 2 ladies, namely Sue Miller and Tennille Verners. 3 former champions still going strong, Ernie Wallace, Hassan Maul and Sean Phillips. Our leading internationals are Kevin Parr from the UK and Francois Dumi from Mauritius, while our other guys that have sailed through, Mark Jackson, Colin McCabe, Gary Grant, Craig Foree, Mark Curry, Sarwar Khan, Tay Stadler, James Goodman, Robbie Burns and Andre van Bassen. And our new Toad favourite with 2 picks is Mark Weinstein. Guys, there are games on Saturday, Sunday and Monday. I will send you your picks later on this afternoon. Get studying. We now cross over to our UK man, Stevie Braham. Steve, good morning.
Good morning, Budge.
We'll talk about the games first, but Chelsea, what's going on with Frank Lampard? Is he going to stay on for the end of the season?
I suspect, unless Chelsea have done a deal with Pochettino to bring it in sooner.
Yeah.
You know, the season's running out. They've only got a handful of games left. You know, so and we finish on the last weekend of May. So you know he may well do, but it's 6 defeats in a row. It's not looking very good for him as far as his reputation is concerned.
Yeah.
You know, they bucked up a little bit in the second half, but the first half they were a shambles again.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to matter what 11 they put out on the pitch. They're just not playing as a team.
Yeah. You know, we listened to Emmanuel Petit, who played for both Arsenal and Chelsea, and he was sitting behind the Chelsea dugout. And he said the arguments between the players and the bickering was frightening. And he said it doesn't matter who you put in charge of Chelsea, they're going nowhere. And as far as Frank Lampard's reputation, I think that's 17 defeats out of the last 20. With him being in charge of the Premier League, Steve, that's not good.
No, definitely. I think that he might look back on this and regret taking it up, because he makes excuses, he's making excuses, or then just coming out and saying, "Oh, it's not good enough, it's not acceptable." Well, everyone knows that, but do something about it.
Yeah.
If you look at their fixtures, they've got 1 or 2 that they might look at and think, actually, we can come back and get a result. But you think that they're away at Bournemouth, it's the sort of game that they should go and win. But the way Bournemouth have been playing recently and the way Chelsea have been playing, you can see why Bournemouth could be favourites in that.
Yeah, no doubt. Liverpool 1, Fulham 0, Steve. I watched most of it. I thought your boys, second half played well, but what Diop was doing, trying to play out from the back. My brother in America, Ian, we were liaised, talking, messaging, and he's had enough of Liverpool. He said too many old players, too many young players that aren't good enough at the moment. But if Diop hadn't have given that penalty, Steve, there could have been an upset. How did you see it?
Yeah, look, I mean, it was a clumsy challenge. He waited far too long.
Yeah.
I mean, he should have attacked the ball and got rid of it. But Núñez certainly made, when you look at it, again, I've looked at it several times, and the pundits have obviously commented that, the letter of the law, it was a pen, but Núñez sort of threw himself over his leg. He wasn't going anywhere, but, that was the difference. And ultimately, but I was surprised as the game wore on, we brought some subs on, and we actually looked as dangerous as they did, and it seemed like Klopp was quite happy just to keep it tight and to keep that clean sheet. So we certainly weren't disgraced. I mean, I think at one point very early on when Liverpool were putting pressure on, I thought, oh, this could be a bit like the Tottenham game when they scored goals early. So look, we were without key players. Obviously, you can't make excuses, but it does show our squad is not as strong as we need. So but I think Marco Silva, won't be too despondent with the way that we've played recently.
Yeah. Talking to Liverpool, Jurgen Klopp, what is the story with his suspension?
Yeah, I think that will happen. I mean, it's again, if he got booked, but obviously it's all the post-match comments, and I think that something will happen there. But if they suspension, it just means he'll sit up in the stand.
Yeah.
They still make contact. It's not as if there's no contact with the team or his assistant. So it's just the fact that unfortunately, he just seems to be under a bit of pressure this season, Klopp, and this is the way that it sort of comes out. It sort of manifests itself.
Yeah, as a neutral, I used to love listening to him, but the way his actions are on the bench, running up to the fourth official, if he'd run down the sideline again, I'd have accepted that, Steve. But the way he ran to the fourth official, no, he's definitely losing the plot. One team who aren't losing the plot are Man City. I didn't watch much of it. I saw the goals are turned over. Haaland unstoppable at the moment, Steve.
Yeah, unbelievable. As it happened, the first half was not the easiest watch. West Ham put sort of 10 men behind the ball and just made it very difficult for City. They had one or two chances, but once the first goal went in, then there was no doubt what was going to happen. And Haaland, I mean, it's just unbelievable. 51 goals in all competitions, 35 now in the Premier League, which is a record. Yeah. Obviously beats sort of Shearer and Cole, and the truth, he's done it with sort of games to spare. We're now looking. He's now behind Dixie Dean as the second highest goal scorer in the top league in all competitions. And we're looking at 100 years. Yeah. He needs 12 goals in the last 9 games to equal Dixie Dean, which is the sort of record that you never dreamt anybody could get close to. Yeah. It might be he never does this again. But, it's an incredible first season, and all those people that doubted whether or not he was the right player and whether it would, especially when they lost 1 or 2 games earlier in the season, you thought, is this affecting the way City play? Well, I think he's answered it, 51 times. Yeah, especially the Champions League. I got Liverpool mates. I think the game was played at Leicester when I think Liverpool beat them, and they were saying, he doesn't look too good, but Ole Gunnar Solskjaer tried to sign him when he took over at United, and he said he's top notch. So those guys at Old Trafford must be puking. Steve, big game tonight for Man United at Brighton. I don't fancy United here, but how do you see it going? Well, with Liverpool now winning 5 in a row, although they've played more games, they are only 4 points behind. So, United don't want to start slipping up at this late stage. I didn't see it all. I saw highlights. I thought they played quite well last weekend. Yeah. Brighton were exceptional, considering that everything that happened to them on the penalty shootout, and then losing at Forest, they looked fairly jaded. But they came back with a rotated team and absolutely annihilated Wolves at the weekend. Yeah. I think they'll be up for it. Brighton, they're going to fancy that they still have a shout and are well placed for European football. And I think this is a huge game. Now, last season, United were totally embarrassed down at Brighton. I can't believe they're going to want to go through that experience again. I think United are capable of getting a result there. Wouldn't surprise me if it ends all square. But Brighton are going to have a real go. They're playing some lovely football at the moment. Yeah, what was interesting when they played Wolves, Caicedo and all these top players, Matoma was on the bench and the Argentinians. So it'd be interesting to see if they start tonight. But I think they will. But I think the key is going to be if Wan-Bissaka can contain Matoma again, like he did in the semi-final. But, to me, I fancy Brighton, sad to say. Steve, Sam Allardyce, Big Sam, takes over Leeds United. Well, a great press interview yesterday when he basically said that, comparing himself to sort of Pep and Klopp and Arteta, not saying he's better, but said he, essentially got more experience than them. And then Pep was asked about it, and he agreed. He said, yeah, he has got more experience. But, look, it may well be too little too late. He's got nothing to lose. He's been out of football a couple of years. My understanding is it's £500,000, but if he keeps them up, it's a £2.5 million bonus, which is not bad work for 4 games. But when you look at their fixtures, obviously, City away on Saturday afternoon, if they got anything at all there, would be a miracle. But you never know. He might sort of somehow get the players believing in themselves. I can't think they'll go there and play sort of with a sort of cavalier style, but which is how they sort of went about it under Bielsa. But I think that City really can't afford. They're not going to want to drop points. They've got themselves top of the table. They'll go 4 clear with a win on Saturday. I think that he'll put out a strong side, Pep, and Sam will only have 3 games left to save Leeds.
Steve, the latest with Tottenham. I see Xabi Alonso's now being, well, not quoted, but mentioned. Surely they've just got to keep it quiet till the end of the season. But newspapers obviously want to write about something. Who else is going to be mentioned in that job application?
Well, look, I think the thing is, that came out of left field.
Yeah.
There's going to be a number. There's no point in them making a change at this stage. Obviously, they're going to want to get somebody in place right at the beginning of the season. But it's going to be hard. They've had some big names there who have just not done it and have not left, not done well at all. Sort of Mourinho and Conte, they're now looking at the sort of Xabi Alonso and Nagelsmann, younger managers, but probably in the level below that.
Yeah.
So obviously the structure of the club has to change, and as much as the manager comes in, and they're not going to want to just be told by Daniel Levy or whoever to say, right, these are the players we're getting for you, here we are, get on with it. I think a strong-willed, experienced manager is going to want to have input and be able to say, look, I don't like what I've seen, we've got to change the way we play, and the players you've given me are not the ones I need. So, I think Spurs are going to have a bit of a clear out in the summer if they want to start challenging again.
Yeah, I think they've got to go back to an English manager. Brendan Rodgers, I'm a Graham Potter lover. I think he's top notch. All these guys are unproven. They've had the proven guys like Mourinho and Conte, but they want to rule it with an iron fist. And with Levy there, it couldn't work. I know Paul likes Brendan Rodgers. He's good. He knows how to play football. His teams play good football. But I'm a Graham Potter man. If it was me, that would be the way I would go. And last but not least, I see Lionel Messi fallout with PSG.
Yeah, look, I think they've obviously made their minds up that they weren't going to offer him a new contract, and he basically just, against their wishes, he went off to do some promotional work in Saudi Arabia. And on his return, he's been fined, suspended. He's been fined 2 weeks' money. And where he goes next, look, he's got offers to go to the MLS. He's got offers to go to Saudi Arabia. Yeah. My understanding is that he still wants to play in Europe, but again, he'd have to sort of lower his expectations because maybe Barcelona. No club in Europe is going to pay him the sort of money that he's been on before. No, not now. Not at his age. Even though obviously. He can attract a lot of people to the club and merchandise, but that sort of behaviour doesn't look good. Yeah. And I think PSG have decided enough with these Galacticos.
Yeah,
they've struggled this season. They're winning. They're going to win Liga, but only just in the end. And obviously, crashed out of the Champions League. So apart from Mbappe, they're quite happy to get rid of Neymar and Messi now.
Yeah, don't blame them. If I was Lionel Messi, I'd go back to Barcelona, do a pay deal. That's where you started, and that's where he should end. Steve, on to the weekend. Massive weekend in the Premiership. Only 4 rounds left. And the first came up, we mentioned it earlier. Bournemouth versus Chelsea. This has upset written all over it. Do you agree?
Well, here you are. You find that sort of Bournemouth are level on points with Chelsea now. Literally, 6 wins in sort of 8 games, is it, or 9 games? They've really put a great run together. Look, it could be. You don't know what you're going to get with Chelsea. You don't know what 11 he's going to put on the pitch. He thought that he could give Aubameyang a run out, having not started since November, and hooked him off at half time. He barely. They said he had 9 touches of the ball, 4 of which were from kickoffs. So I'm not sure that worked. Yeah. But look, you look at the players and you just think, why is this? There is something obviously fundamentally wrong there. Bournemouth are playing, way above the sum of all their parts. They look a cohesive unit, and they're having a go, and they deservedly have stayed up. Yeah. So I think this could be, more pain for Frank.
Yeah, I think so too. You know what amazed me, Steve, was having a look at Odegaard's goals. The defensive effort from those Chelsea players to close them down. They were just zonal marking. Oh, well, you'll do it. No, I'll do it. And they were embarrassing. And Bournemouth have won 4 of the last 5. So it wouldn't shock me, it does look a tight little pitch, and it wouldn't shock me if Chelsea don't get beat again. They haven't won in 7, and it wouldn't surprise me if they have no wins in 8. Man City Leeds, Steve. To me, I've had a look at every avenue to try and make money, and the best I came up with was over 2.5 goals, and both teams to score, no. I think Big Sam's going to park the bus. He'll take a 2-0 defeat for goal difference. But I think City are going to go 2-3-0 up early and then take their main boys off because they've got the Champions League in midweek. How would you see that game going?
Yeah, and that's Pep's tactics.
Yeah.
He does what we discussed that other teams don't do.
Yeah.
Is play your strongest 11 that you're going to put out, and then once you're ahead, like he's done with Haaland. Look, Haaland could have had more than 51 goals this season because in a lot of games he takes him off with 15, 20 minutes to go when they're clear.
Yeah.
Which has worked because it's kept him fresh. And I think I'd be very surprised if he doesn't do similar. We don't know about whether De Bruyne is going to be fit. I suspect he won't risk it. Whatever happens, he'll keep him for Madrid. But whatever other 11 he puts out, you would expect to be too strong for Leeds. And I think the worry for Leeds is obviously if they do give away early goals, is whether they crumple. But I'm not sure City going to want to expend any more energy than they need to. So as you say, 2 or 3-0 something, or 2 or 3-1. As long as they get the point, City, I think Pep will be pleased.
Yeah, I think defensively, though, remember they had against Leicester City with 3-0 up and cruising, and they conceded, and they could have conceded a few more. So I don't see Leeds scoring. I just think they'll try and keep it down. Our next game, Steve, Tottenham Crystal Palace. What can we say about Spurs?
Well, look, I mean, it's the first half. The first sort of half of the half at Liverpool was shocking. It was a bit like the Newcastle game. They actually played well in the second half and had a real go. And ultimately, if it wasn't for that Moura mistake, would have come away with a point. So they'll be smarting. I think they may well get back with a win, but when you look at the league table now, basically fourth place has gone for them.
Yeah.
So they're playing for Europa place at best. I think the fans are going to demand a bit more effort than they've seen. But again, they've got to put in a first half performance. Against United, they were out of. United should have been out of sight in that game in the first half. But Tottenham came back. Palace will have a go. They've got nothing to lose. They're safe. So I think it'll be an entertaining game. I think that Tottenham would just edge it though.
Yeah, 15 goals conceded in the last 4 league games, Spurs. So you don't know what's going on at the training pitch. Next game, Birmingham derby, Steve. Wolves versus Aston Villa. This is going to be fiery. I fancy Villa of the two teams, but how do you see it?
Yeah, I mean, Villa, I think, was starters' favourites. It wasn't the best performance last weekend. And Wolves, Lopetegui would be very upset with the way they defended at Brighton. They were completely steamrolled, and I think he'll demand a response. I think this will be close, as you say. It's sort of a Birmingham Black Country derby. Yeah. I think that I wouldn't be at all surprised if Wolves hold them. I don't think there'll be a lot of goals. I think of the two, if there was to be a winner, probably Villa, but I could see a draw here.
Do you? I just think there will be goals, Steve. I think, with Aston Villa, they're trying to get into Europe, and after that debacle, 6-0, I watched the first 15 minutes because the guys were in the competition. I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. I just think that, Wolves, they've got a great home record. The only team that's beat them, ironically, at Leeds in the last 5. So, I know it'll be tight. I think bookings is the way to go, but, I fancy Villa of the two teams. Steve, my upset of the Premiership this week is Brentford to avoid defeat at Liverpool. Am I crazy?
Well, look, Brentford have just picked up a couple of wins. Obviously, they, it looked at, till the last 10-15 minutes, they might come unstuck against Forest. But, with Ivan Toney in the team, there's a goal in him. Liverpool, look, 5 wins in a row. I think they're going to. I think they're going to start as favourites. Yeah. Klopp is going to want to get another 3 points to keep pressure on the teams above them. I'm not sure Brentford personally will get a result, but you never know. Liverpool concede goals. I think Klopp was, when he was being interviewed, was quite pleased that they kept a clean sheet. And the one thing Brentford do is have a go away from home. I think it'll be close, but I just fancy Liverpool to sneak it though.
Yeah, they're just defensively well organised, Brentford, and they beat Man City away. And tactically, I like that manager. They do have a great repertoire between the players. And I don't like what I see from Liverpool. They're cruising. Guys are going through the motions. Trent Alexander on easy street. Obviously, he's brilliant on the ball, but this is a hard-working team, and the longer it stays close, I wouldn't be surprised if Birmingham can cause an upset like they did at the Etihad earlier on in the year. Big game in the Premiership. Second versus third now is Newcastle Arsenal. Steve, how do you see it going?
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough game for Arsenal.
Yeah.
They obviously, they needed that win the other night after sort of 4 without, but Newcastle are going to want to consolidate their sort of top 4 position. And I think, if City win, as we expect, and go 4 clear of Arsenal, it really puts the pressure on them. And if they drop any points at all, you can't see anything other than City winning that league now.
Yeah,
I think Arsenal are going to have to really be at their sort of early season best to get anything at the weekend. Newcastle will have a real go. The crowd are passionate. They're playing well, scoring goals, and I think that if Arsenal get anything at all, I think I've just got this horrible sneaking feeling that they'll come unstuck Arsenal. They could get a point. I just can't see them winning somehow.
Yeah, I just think it's going to be cagey early on, Steve. Arsenal are going to try and catch him on the break with Saka, but Gabriel Jesus hasn't got the spark that he had at the beginning of the year. I worry about Newcastle's back 4. I watched them against Villa. I know it was an early kickoff, but they got roasted. No other teams really put them under pressure. Southampton had a go and got behind them easily. This Arsenal team, I wouldn't write them off, Steve. I think, I know they're second top and they're having a bad run, but I think they can expose Newcastle. I think there's goals, especially in the second half. I took 16-10, both teams to score in the second half. I think it's going to be cat and mouse early on. Hope I'm wrong, but I think it's going to be tight early and explode in the second half because especially Arsenal have got to go for it. West Ham,
I think you're right. Arsenal do have to go for it, but I think their poor run has actually coincided with losing Saliba.
Yes.
And at the back, that's been part of the issue. So, whether he changes it, he obviously gave someone their debut the other night, Kiowa.
Yeah.
Whether he brings Holding in, Gabriel was, possibly could have picked up a bit of an injury. He made it through the 90s. So, I think Arteta's got a little bit of a problem with the back 4. But I think you're right. I mean, it's going to be a good game. I mean, obviously, Arsenal can't afford to go there and not get something. So, I think because of that, it will be a good game.
Yeah. Second half goals, guys. West Ham, Man United, Steve. West Ham. Declan Rice, was he rested last night? Him and Souček? Or were they carrying
it's really strange.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it was hard to know whether, they had a little bit of a knock or rested. It's, maybe they just thought, look, it's a bit of a free hit. I think I heard that there was a little bit of a sickness bug or something that affected them.
Yeah.
Literally on the day, and they lost a few players. They only had they were a couple short on the bench. They didn't have a full bench.
There must have been a bug.
But if they're back at the weekend, I mean, they've done quite well in the past against United.
Yeah.
West Ham. They're dangerously close to that bottom 3. They're only 4 points clear. They're not going to want to give up their position after sort of clawing themselves out of it a few weeks ago. I think United are going to have a tough game at Brighton.
Yeah.
They'll have a tough game at the London Stadium. They'll certainly be favourites, United, but I think West Ham have got enough about them to hold them.
Yeah, I think set pieces are crucial for Man United. If we can defend them, I think we'll be fine. The only thing with West Ham, they're playing the semi-final of the Europa Conference League on Thursday. So maybe that's David Moyes has got one eye on that. But Man United are a hard watch, but I think both teams to score is the way to go. Fulham Leicester, Steve, I've been impressed with your team lately. I know the injuries and everything's going wrong, but I don't like what I see from Leicester. Good going forward, but defensively, it looks like they don't want to defend, Steve. I fancy Fulham of the two. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it'll be an entertaining game. I mean, as you say, Leicester obviously can't afford to lose.
Yeah.
We are. I think some people thought, we're on the beach now, but I think that we've shown a lot of effort against Man City and certainly against Liverpool last night in the second half.
Yeah.
So I think depending on who's available, I think we'll have a go. And I think it'll be an entertaining game. I think there'll certainly be goals.
Yeah.
We struggled to keep a clean sheet, but so do Leicester. So wouldn't surprise me. There are a few goals. Leicester are capable of getting something.
Yeah.
And they'll have a go. But obviously, I think Fulham fans are quite relaxed at the moment. Sort of whatever result, we're quite happy. So, I think we can play with a bit of confidence, and I think that it could be an entertaining game.
Definitely will be. Brighton, Everton, Steve, and what we've seen Brighton look good things. I know Everton are fighting for their lives, but, they just can't keep clean sheets. And at the back, they look woeful. And I think Brighton will expose them big time. How do you see it?
Well, look, again, Brighton, obviously 2 home games in a row. If they, after tonight, it's a tough game for Everton. They can't afford to drop too many more points. They did have a go at Leicester. They had enough chances to have even done better. Calvert-Lewin missed a sitter from like 2 yards. I think they desperately have needed him back. It was a much better performance from Everton. But again, at the back, losing Seamus Coleman as well.
Yeah.
I think this is a tricky game for them. If they get anything at all, would be a good result.
Yeah, and last but not least, I think this is the game of the weekend, especially at the bottom, Steve. Notts Forest, Southampton. This could go any way. As much as I'd like Forest to win and seal Southampton's fate, but I don't think it's as easy. And even money, I think, short. How do you see it going now?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is certainly last chance saloon for Southampton. They're 6 points adrift. They lose this, they could be with only 3 games left. They could be almost down. So I think they'll have a real go. Forest at home, we know are tough to beat.
Yeah.
And after beating Brighton, they're going to look at this Forest and think, if we can get a result here, 33 points, they could pull away from teams like Leeds or Everton or Leicester.
Yeah.
So, I think, draw doesn't help. It probably helps Forest more. Draw doesn't help Southampton because they'll still be too far adrift. So I think this will be a very entertaining game. But the thing with Forest is, generally when they've gone ahead, they sort of shut up shop a bit. But I think Southampton will just keep plugging away, and they've got goals in the Southampton, but they concede too many. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if Southampton hold them, but I'm not sure that they can get a result they need.
I think this has got 2-2 written all over it. I back James Ward-Prowse to score any time because he's the main man at 7-2. So, but I'd like Forest to try and get out of it. I like Steve Cooper. They're unlucky against Brentford last week, but it's not going to be easy being the main game on a Monday. Steve, on to the Championship. There's a game last night. Neil Warnock's Huddersfield, who need a point at home against his old club, Sheffield United. You think they'll get the point?
Yeah, I think they came. I mean, Sheffield United are actually the top of the form guide. 8 wins in the last 10. They're promoted. Huddersfield need 1 point, either from tonight or at the weekend at home to Reading.
Yeah.
So, and I think Neil Warnock, basically will get that point. If not tonight, then I suspect he'll get all 3 on at the weekend. So, I wouldn't be at all surprised with Sheffield United already up that Huddersfield will get the point they need tonight and stay up, and that will be it done and dusted at the bottom of the Championship.
Yeah, we were on them last week. It was both our best each way, and I watched it, Steve. They were 2 up and cruising. I was impressed with what I saw. They never looked like losing. I know Cardiff aren't the best, but Huddersfield really did play well, barring the last 5 minutes when Cardiff scored, and then it was hanging on time. But I expect them to get a point at least tonight. On to the Championship. It is the final weekend of the league season. The games are on Monday. All the games are on Monday that kick off at the same time, unless there is a change. The first game up, Birmingham City, Sheffield United, Steve. Sheffield United,
well, again,
what do you think?
Well, look, Sheffield United, as we know, they're up. Whether they take their eye off it, you often get funny results. Last game of the season, there's nothing much to play for. Birmingham, in front of their home crowd for the last time. They've had a very inconsistent season.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be at all surprised Sheffield United could go there and get a result, but I suspect it may well just be a draw.
Yeah, I think Sheffield United will ease their players, they'll play the squad players tonight at Huddersfield, do their old manager a nice turn, and then they're going to go there to Birmingham and give them a hiding. I'll wait to see the result tonight, but if they don't win tonight, I'll be all over Sheffield United at 9-10 on Monday. Steve, Burnley at Cardiff. I see that if they win, it's over 101 points. I think it is a league total. Is that correct?
Yeah, they'll get. It's not a record by any means, but they'll certainly want to be chasing that, and they're going to go there as favourites. But again, Cardiff are safe. In front of their home crowd, last game of the season. Burnley is certainly. I suspect he'll want to end on a high. So I think Burnley rightly start as favourites. Yeah,
I looked at the betting, and Burnley to win by more than 1 goal was even money. Burnley to score over 2.5 goals was 14-10, but I took 7-2 Burnley to over 2.5 goals and both teams to score, no. I think Burnley are going to destroy them, Steve. My only problem is the last 20 minutes, if they get too cavalier and give Cardiff a chance or not. But knowing Vincent Kompany, he's going to want to win this, get the 100 points and seal a great season. So Burnley all over for me. And as I say, the key with Huddersfield, Reading, you know, if they do need a point to stay up, I can see them beating Reading, Steve. But if they get the point tonight, you know, which way would you see it? Would you give Reading a chance, seeing that they're gone already?
No, I don't think so. I mean, they haven't won in 10.
Yeah.
They've obviously, lack of confidence there. I think that Huddersfield, whatever happens tonight, even if they get that point, I think Neil Warnock will make sure that they put on a bit of a show. And for me, I think that they're going to run out winners, whatever happens tonight. Yeah. I just think that Reading, I think the 6 points has really hurt them, especially when it comes quite late in the season. They were looking at the league table at one point thinking, we're a bit clear. All of a sudden, they get thrust down into the bottom 3. So, and the result performances have reflected that. As you say, no win in 10 now. And I think if they're not down tonight, they certainly will be by Monday.
Yeah, also losing Paul Ince. I can't believe guys could do that. A few games left, get rid of the experienced manager. Anyway, Luton Town at home, Steve, warming up for the playoffs. Too good for Hull City?
I would think so. Luton have, I think again surprised everybody by having. They started slowly this season, but to find themselves in 3rd place and with home advantage now, which they didn't have in the playoffs last time for the second leg. I think they'll do that. You never quite know. Whether you think, because obviously they can't be caught. They can't be caught. So whether or not he's going to rest one or two. You're just not quite sure, but I think that they'll start as favourites without doubt. Yeah,
I think they're good things to get a result. Steve, my best bet of the weekend is Middlesbrough. I'll call up now against Coventry. They've lost their last 2. He's tinkered. I know they had a red card against Rotherham. But if Coventry beat them, that's who they play in the semi-final. So I can't imagine Michael Carrick, playing a weakened team. Steve, 15-10. I'm all over Middlesbrough. Do you agree with me?
Yeah, I think that he certainly won't want to play a weakened team because, again, he's sort of playing for positions. And, but Coventry can't afford to lose this.
Yeah.
They can be caught. So, I think this will be a good game. Coventry have had a good run and got themselves up into that sort of 5th playoff spot. And I think they're going to definitely want to keep it. They're not going to want to lose. So, I think there'll be goals in this. Middles have scored a lot of goals at home in recent matches. I think this will be an entertaining game.
Yeah, I just, unbeaten and 8 away from home, Coventry, but Middlesbrough 2 smacks, and you don't want to go into the playoffs having lost 3, but 15-10 has had my money already. Millwall Blackburn, Steve, big game for both clubs.
Yeah, I think Millwall will get the result they need. I mean, Blackburn had to win the other night. They didn't. Got themselves a latest goal. If you look at the form table, I think they won 2 in 10, Blackburn.
Yeah.
They dropped away as they did last year, and I'm not sure that they've got enough about them to get a result and to get themselves into a playoff place now. So I think Millwall will win and consolidate their 6th place. Yeah,
I have to agree with you. Disappointed. They won my best bet last week. Couldn't believe it. The effort. They showed effort, but they just lacked a bit of class. And got to agree with Steve. Millwall for me. Norwich City, Blackpool. Steve, I watched the Blackpool. Was it Luton Town Millwall game last week? They had a full go, Blackpool. A lot of youngsters. Obviously not good enough, but Norwich City have been woeful of late. I think it's 1 win in 10. There will be goals, Steve, but do you expect Norwich to win?
I think Norwich should win, but as you say, they've had a really poor run in. They were on the cusp of a playoff place and they've completely fallen away. And their worst season in many years. And you just sort of wonder what's going on there, because I think a lot of people thought they still had a relatively strong squad and could go back up, but they've been found wanting this season. So Blackpool got nothing to lose; they'll have a go, but I just think Norwich should be probably end on a high and be too strong for them.
Yeah, my boys Preston against Sunderland. We just haven't got enough to get into the playoffs. I actually hope Sunderland do get into the playoffs, Steve. I don't know if I'd take even money, but I think there'd be goals in this one. Which way do you see it?
Well, I mean, Sunderland have needed to win that game against Watford last week, and they failed to do so. They got a late point, but I'm not sure, even if Sunderland win, that will be enough for them, with sort of Millwall and Coventry above them. You know, but I think Sunderland's certainly been better away from home in the last 10 games or so than they have at home. And I think they'll start as favourites. They'll take there'll be a huge following coming from the northeast. But I think whatever result they get, I'm not sure it'll be enough.
Okay, well, even though it's my diehard team, Preston, I hope Sunderland can get into the playoffs. Steve, QPR have escaped relegation, especially 2 great results in the last 2 weeks. At home against Bristol City, who've been disappointing away from home. There's always goals when Bristol City play, but you fancy QPR, the 2 teams?
Well, I mean, a few weeks ago, I think people were writing QPR off because of their, was it 1 win in 17, and all of a sudden they go to Burnley and win, and then they follow that up with sort of home points, to follow that up with a win at Stoke, and they're totally safe, and I think defied the odds. So they may now sort of the pressure's off them. They may well put in the sort of performance at home they haven't been. Bristol City have been very inconsistent. At home they've been strong, but as you say, away not so. I wouldn't be at all surprised QPR could get a result now that they are safe and the pressure's off.
Okay, Steve, I can't believe the betting in this. This is my best value bet of the weekend. Swansea City 21-10 at home against West Brom. I've watched some Swansea, they're decent side. West Brom have, I know they're on the edge of the playoffs, but I don't like what I've seen lately. I fancy Swansea, the 2 teams. What about you?
Yeah, absolutely. When I saw that, I thought that can't be right. On the basis that West Brom are still just about in with a shout of a playoff place, but I think that's gone. But Swansea are one of the most informed teams, and I think for them the season is ending just a few games too short, because another few games, and I think that they could have got the playoff place. So for me, I think here we're agreeing again, because I fancy that as my value bet.
Yeah, that's 6-10 win and draw. I just couldn't believe that. 2 games to go in the Champions, Steve. Watford Stoke. Can your brother be happy when you see him over the weekend?
Well, I think Watford fans are very disappointed with the way the season's turned out. Obviously, had hoped that they might be challenging this year, and they've been found wanting. There's going to be a bit of a clear out. Pedro has evidently been earmarked to go to Brighton. There's another South American there, but I think they'll be too strong. Stoke have had a very poor end to the season. They picked up a couple of months ago, and it's all just gone to pot. And I think Watford will finish on a high, but that will be too little, too late for them, really.
Yeah, they cost me money, Stoke. I didn't go against them when they beat Blackburn 3-2, but every time I followed them, they've sold me down the river. And last but not least, Steve, Wigan Athletic, who are relegated against a Rotherham team who escaped relegation last week. How do you see it going?
Yeah, I mean, obviously both Wigan are down, Rotherham are safe. I think Wigan have shown a lot of fights in the last few months. They were just too far adrift. But I think for me, wouldn't be at all surprised if I think there'll be goals, because as I say, both teams can relax now. But I think Wigan are capable of winning this. Rotherham surprised me. I think they've done a lot better. I think a lot of people had them in their bottom 3, and they've done well, particularly at home. I wouldn't be at all surprised. Wigan might end on a high, just to sort of show that if they can keep the squad together, they'll be challenging next season in League One.
Well, let's hope so. Steve, pressure time again. I know who your value bet is, like mine at Swansea City, but who's your best bet?
Yeah, I'm going to go for Huddersfield. I just think Neil Warnock is going to want to end his short reign on a high. I'm not sure whether or not he wants to stay next season, or they want him next season. But he's done exactly what they brought him in to do, and they've done it. I think they'll end up being quite a few points clear of the bottom 3, and he'll deserve his end of season bonus. Yeah.
No, I totally agree. He has done a great job, and they're well organised, Steve. I was really impressed with what I saw against them against Cardiff City last week. Steve, as always, thanks again, and we'll speak over the weekend.
Yeah.
All the best,
Have a good
Steve.
one. Cheers, Budge.
Thank you. So, UK correspondent Stevie Braham. We go on to the Nedbank Cup semi-finals. Massive games, but there were several league games. And I watched quite a few of them. Tuesday night, Supersport 0, Stellenbosch 0. Last night, Pirates conceded an injury time when drawing 1-1 with Royal AM. And I watched Maritzburg 2, Maruma Gallants 2. Shame for Maritzburg, conceding late. Maruma Gallants, my mate Dylan's curse side, well organised. It was actually an excellent game. Sekakuna United conceded a last-minute penalty when drawing 1-1 with TS Galaxy. Amazulu came from 2-0 down to draw with league leaders Mamelodi Sundowns. I fancied Cape Town City to beat Golden Arrows, but that didn't work out. They drew 0-0 in a massive game at the bottom of the league. Richards Bay were 2-0 up, but conceded 3 goals and losing 3-2 to Chipper United. Our league standings, Maruma Gallants, who are 14, 29 points, minus 3. Chipper United, 29 points, minus 11. And unfortunately, KZN outfit, Maritzburg United, 26 points, minus 17. They still have Sundowns to play, so it's not looking good for our boys from the capital. On to the semi-final of the Nedbank Cup, and 2 superb games to look forward to. Kaizer Chiefs, Orlando Pirates. I'm all over Pirates on performance, but the last 5 meetings outside the Black Label Cup, Kaizer Chiefs have won all 5. There'll be a full house at the FNB Soccer City on Saturday. I'll be watching it. 17-10 Orlando Pirates is for me. I'm hoping it's a goal fest. I think we saw 11-10, both teams to score. But I fancy Orlando Pirates of the 2 teams. And I also like Stellenbosch. At home at Donny Craven Stadium, hard to beat. They've won 4 and drawn 1 of the last 5. Sekakuna struggle away from home. Their last 5 away league games, 1 draw and 4 defeats, and they haven't scored a goal. Under 2.5 goals is the best way to go in that particular clash. But if you want to go outright, I'm on to Stellenbosch. On to our weekend exotics, and it's all on Saturday this weekend. And our score 6. I'm going Bournemouth, win and draw against Chelsea. I'm bankering Man City to beat Leeds United. Tottenham Hotspur, win and draw at home against Crystal Palace. I'm going Aston Villa to avoid defeat at Wolverhampton Wanderers. Inter Milan, win and draw at Jose Mourinho's Roma. And I'm throwing the draw in with Liverpool at home at Anfield against Brentford, 192. On to other soccer 6. I'm going AC Milan, win and draw against Lazio. Orlando Pirates, win and draw against Kaizer Chiefs. RB Leipzig, win and draw at Freiburg. Bournemouth, win and draw at home against Chelsea. Tottenham, win and draw at home against Crystal Palace. And I'm chancing Aston Villa to be too good for Wolverhampton Wanderers, 192. On to our score 10 on Saturday. I'm going the field in the Bournemouth versus Chelsea clash. Man City to be too good at home against Leeds United. Tottenham, win and draw at home against Crystal Palace. Siding with Aston Villa to avoid defeat at Wolves. Inter Milan to avoid defeat at Roma. On to the second page, Union Saint-Gilloise, win and draw at Club Brugge. The field in the Liverpool-Brentford match, looking for the upset and ending up with 3 bankers. Bayern Munich to beat Werder Bremen, Ajax Amsterdam to beat AZ Alkmaar, and Real Madrid to beat Osasuna in the Spanish Cup final, 288. On to our soccer 13, I'm going Liverpool, win and draw against Brentford. Man City to be too good at home against Leeds. Bournemouth, win and draw at home against Chelsea, as well as Tottenham Hotspur, win and draw at home against Crystal Palace. I'm siding with Aston Villa to win at Wolves. Inter Milan to avoid defeat at Roma. Bayern Munich should be too good away at Werder Bremen. On to the second page, Real Madrid to be too strong for Osasuna. Marseille to avoid defeat in the second and third clash against Lens. Siding with Nice, win and draw at home against Rennes. I think Ajax Amsterdam will beat AZ Alkmaar. Going for Union Saint-Gilloise, win and draw at Club Brugge. And ending up with Benfica to be too strong at home against Sporting Braga, 256. On to our budgies bets for the weekend. I'm going Bournemouth, +1 handicap against Chelsea. That's Bournemouth win or draw. Over 2.5 goals. Both teams to score no in the Man City versus Leeds United game. And both teams to score in the second half in the Newcastle versus Arsenal fixture, 2,600 to 200. I'm going over 2.5 goals. Both teams to score yes in the Wolves Aston Villa, Fulham Leicester, and Notts Forest versus Southampton matches, 2,000 to 200. On to the championship on Monday. Apologies, I have an anytime goal scorer double. I'm going Son Heung-min of Spurs and James Ward-Prowse of Southampton to score anytime. It's a nice double, 11-1, 2,200 to 200. Our championship treble, I'm going over 2.5 goals, both teams to score no in the Burnley Cardiff City game. Middlesbrough to be too good for Coventry, and I'm going Swansea handicap plus 1 goal against West Brom, 3,700 to 200. There's no games in Spain, so I'm going to chance an Italian quartet. I'm going Salernitana plus 1 handicap against Empoli. I think Sassuolo will be too good for Bologna. And over 2.5 goals in the Torino AC Monza and Udinese Sampdoria fixtures, 3,000 to 200. And our Collis King, 6 or Nixa. I'm going Man City to beat Leeds, Burnley to beat Cardiff, Middlesbrough to beat Coventry, Bayern Munich to beat Werder Bremen, Real Sociedad to beat Osasuna, and Udinese to beat Sampdoria, 2,100 to 200. For the guys left in the last one standing, please, Saturday lunchtime is closing time, and for everyone else, please remember to stay on side.